Iowa Sports Review is brought to you today by Daniel Marks, licensed sales representative with United Healthcare. Turning 65? Welcome to Medicare. Call Daniel at 515-519-0040, TTY 711.
Well, that was yeah. I miss those days with the Wave and Iowa being competitive. Where do I begin? What was the final score on it? 27-7. I should know better. 27-7. Iowa falls at Wisconsin. Doesn't even fall. Falls flat on their face. Doesn't show up. Doesn't really do anything. I'm Tom Close. I thought Adam Jacobi was going to host this, and I was going to just kind of chime in. But it looks like I'm hosting it. So it's a good thing I grabbed coffee before this because I, up until about 5 seconds ago, was not up for it after what Iowa did. But it's better to talk. Let's just talk through it, and then I'll go break things in a little bit. Yeah, where do you begin or finish with any of it? It was complete nonsense. I texted somebody this. I'm in Madison. I'm in some hotel outside of Madison, and I really want to drive home to Des Moines, but I'll do that tomorrow. But I texted someone this. I think it was at halftime, and I'm from Detroit. I'm a Lions fan. That curse. It's amazing between this and the Lions that I even watch football and love the sport so much, but I'm addicted. But I was texting somebody. It's like the Lions never surprise you. Like you go into a game with the Lions and it's a big game or something, they're going to fall flat on their face, and like if they'll find a way to lose, and they at the end of the day they never surprise you. And the same can be said with Iowa going into this game and with what they did. I mean, they had 14 days. They entered that Purdue game 6-0, coming off of, at the time, we thought was one of the great wins in program history. They had 14 days to prepare for this after getting embarrassed at homecoming and getting really their butt kicked by Purdue. There was no hangover, I don't think. And I talked about it on Thursday, going into this game 2 days ago, and nothing looked different. In fact, it looked worse. It looked less inspiring. Like they cut a lot of plays out of the playbook. I mean, the stretch runs on first down and that don't work. It hasn't worked for 7-8 weeks now. The stretch runs, it didn't work against Colorado State. It's not going to work at Wisconsin. The lack of getting anyone involved outside of 3 people, and it's just a handoff to Goodson. He has to stutter step. Again, it's not his fault. There's no hole there. And there's no imagination. But I actually want to stop myself. We can rail on the offense all day. The defense at some point, the defense played well in the second half when Wisconsin, I don't know why Wisconsin was throwing the ball after it was like 10-0, but the defense has gotten all the shine for, they looked like Georgia the first 5 weeks of the year and came up against Penn State and all that and great plays. They were not good early in this game. Now, I'm not going to fault them for, fumble on the 1-yard line. That was a great play. Boy, who could have seen that coming? And the defense actually got Iowa the ball back by stopping him, holding him at the 1. But, Wisconsin came out. They're averaging 4 yards a carry. Mertz is hitting 5-6 yard passes down the field at will. What happened to this defense? And I don't want to get to the point where it's like they have to be top 5, but we knew that they relied so much on this defense. And since thank God they knocked out Sean Clifford. I would be 5-3 probably right now. So the defense should not get let off the hook in a lot of respects, at least early. played well the rest of the game. This loss is not on the defense. I mean, give me a break. I think they allowed 25 for the first time in like 33 games or something. So this is not an attack the defense. I'm just saying that they were bad. The whole team was bad. I mean, Max Cooper, I was at the game. I'm not exactly sure why Max Cooper was fielding a punt in the second quarter, but he shouldn't be. I could have caught that. It hit him in the face mask. Look, mistakes happen. I'm not mad at Max Cooper. I'm wondering why he's in the game. If Charlie Jones was hurt, then he was hurt. I didn't see because Charlie Jones started returning punts again. I'm sure he was banged up at that time. But I mean, I don't know what else there is to say other than it was a complete embarrassment. The season has completely cratered, and you know, if it was a random offensive coordinator, I would suggest, you know, maybe we should start firing people and stuff. But it's just a waste of time. I mean, Kirk's never going to fire Brian. This is how it's going to be through the rest of Kirk's tenure. This is how it's been through most of his tenure. And that's, you know, the Brian Ferentz stuff. I mean, it's on him. I mean, there's no adjustments, and it's on Kirk. There's no adjustments at all. They had 14 days to come out. Yeah, I mean, it is time to fire him, but it's not going to happen. I mean, we all know it's not going to happen. You know, and you look at from just a wide angle lens right now, and it's like, boy, that resume for what, the Foster Farms Bowl. I mean, there's no playoff nothing like that. Yeah, you're trying to beat out you know, Rutgers for the 5th bowl or something. But no, that's a good point. I mean, it is. You know, the defense comes up with maybe, you know, they stopped him on the 1. I thought he scored, but he didn't. They stopped Wisconsin on the 1 yard line because Wisconsin's offense is usually really bad, and let's be real, it was again for the most part. They put together 2 drives, and that's really all you need to do against Iowa. They come up to stop on the 1, and the offense, they go out there, and you know they have no chance. I mean, I swear I said this to the Wisconsin fan in front of me. You know, everyone around me is high-fiving. I was with just a group of Iowa fans, and I said, you'll get it back at the 30. I was wrong. I said, don't worry, you get the ball back at the 30 in 4 plays. They got it back at the 2 in 2 plays. But that's the thing with this Iowa offense. It's not that they're really bad. It's that, you know, they're not going to do anything. I mean, it's so painful. And to rely on this defense to come up with turnover after turnover, so the offense has to go 35 yards, you know, and then of course they're down 20-0, and we get the pseudo comeback. You know, like, oh, now they score, now they get a stop, now they get the ball, and then the cherry on top that everyone's going to be talking about probably forever. This is the fullback dive game for me, other than, you know, when we knew Brian Ferentz was done. Iowa gets to a 3rd and 1, and you're still holding your breath because you know they can't run the ball outside of a fullback dive and a quarterback sneak. So they run the fullback. Potabom doesn't get it. 4th and inches. I don't know what happened. It looked like they were going to sneak. The whole world knew they were going to sneak. So Petrus takes a timeout. They come back and run another fullback dive. And that is when he was stuffed, and I left. I walked out. It was the earliest I've ever left an Iowa football game. I was done. And if you were watching at home, it was great because you could easily turn it off. You could rake leaves. You could do anything else. I mean, it was a complete, utter disaster. It was a joke. It was a waste of all of our time. And really, like, where does this leave them? You know, where do they go from here? You know, now they're playing, and I mean, I don't even care if they luck into winning the division. It means nothing. You go to Indianapolis, you're going to get drilled. I'm watching Michigan State at the tail end of that game. Those teams would kill Iowa. like they're not beating any of those teams. You know, you might get Minnesota, but I can't pick Iowa to beat anyone right now. They can't score. They can't move the ball. So the season's completely cratered. And I mean, the Deuce Hogan stuff, it is telling that not only is he behind Petrus, which is scary, but he's third behind Petrus. And then I saw, Padilla is now a quarterback. He's Troy Aikman now, Padilla, because he ran and threw the ball for a completion once or something. I didn't even see it. I can't watch this team anymore. But next week at Northwestern, who even cares? I mean, who's going to watch that game? I mean, I'll watch it. We'll all watch it, but like nationally, it means nothing. Iowa was playing in a 3-4 game 3 weeks ago. Now they're completely irrelevant again and should not be ranked. Get them out. This team they might finish 6-6, which would be incredible. Big picture, though, I just watched Iowa State lose at West Virginia. So there goes Iowa's. That was the one thing. And and I always root against Iowa State, but that was the one thing holding up this season as like anything. I mean, he had Penn State lost to Illinois in 15 overtimes at home. Indiana's a complete train wreck. And, Maryland's no good. And now Iowa State has 3 losses. So what have they done this year? Nothing. If it was, if they started 2 if they just started 2-2 and just plotted along, like we would never. I think that's what's most disappointing is how this season started. And I, going into today, it was still like, was Purdue a fluke? Was it, were they? I know they got their butt kicked, but like, they can't be that bad. This defense will come up with some plays. No, they stink. Like they're mediocre at best. They're not good. I mean, when you don't have one side of the ball at all, like you cannot move the ball at all, you stink. And it just calls into question. But see, I hate to get into like this calls into question. Where's this going under Kirk? He's not going anywhere. And Brian is his son. So we're stuck with him. Like it's useless. He's never going to fire Brian, and Kirk's not going to get fired. I honestly don't think he should be fired. I don't think we should be talking about that. But like that, all that talk just is waste. It's a waste of time. I think more should just go into pointing out how bad this offense is, and should they completely overhaul the scheme? Yes. Should they do anything differently? Yes. Anything. I'll take anything. Start a different quarterback. Maybe Padilla on with his feet can make a couple plays. I don't know. I mean, it's not working. And again, Petrus misses throws. He also has 0.5 of a second back there before he gets hit. The offensive line has been a train wreck, and it is not getting better. I thought it was getting better. It is not getting better. Pass pro has gotten worse. I mean, that has completely devolved into just nothing. And Petrus missing. I mean, how many slants? What did he go? 9 for 19 for 93 yards, QBR of 21.3. Well, he didn't turn it over, at least through the air. Sorry. Goodson, 13 carries, 27 yards. On Thursday, there was an article. Well, I read an article. I think it was by Leistico from the Register, but I mentioned it on Thursday. Goodson and Iowa were saying all week, we have to run to win. We got to run the ball. We're going to run it. We're going to find that running game. We're going to win. All right, let's see. Tyler, and this isn't all on him. 13 carries, 27 yards. His longest 12-yard carry was a 12-yard carry. Sorry. Overall, about 100 guys carried it, but it's counting the Petrus sacks and Padilla sacks. 30 carries for 24 yards. That's with a minus 21 from Petrus too. So let's split it. Let's go 45 yards. I just terrible on every level. They were never in it for a second. The minute they got the ball and you saw Charlie Jones gave him a great return to start. I think it was a 44-yard return. And the minute they snapped it offensively and you saw that 3 and out, it was done. Because you knew, even if that defense came up big, you knew that the defense was going to have to probably score. And if Wisconsin could just score 10, the game was over. You could see it. And this Wisconsin team, I mean, look, defensively, they're exceptional. I mean, they've really, I saw that. I mean, they've been good against Michigan. It kind of got away from them, and their defense really, I think they were just worn down at the end of that game. Michigan kind of laid it on them, but they've really responded. I mean, their defense is playing really well. That offense is bad. It's not a good offense. I mean, it looks almost identical to Iowa's, except Mertz is a little better than Petrus. I actually thought Iowa's offense was better because of Tyler Goodson, but it's not. And Wisconsin's offensive line is a little better. They can run the ball. I mean, Allen, what do you have? 20 carries for 104. I wish I would give my right arm for that once this season, even in the wins. So that they've really figured it out on the ground. It looks like after this week and last week. I don't know what they're doing throwing with a lead of any kind. They're just, Mertz was asking to throw a pick six at one point. But Iowa wasn't making plays today. 3 fumbles, Cooper, Kelly Martin, and Petrus. Iowa lost them all. And I don't know what else there is in regards to this game. It was awful. And there was just no imagination on offense. There was no creativity. I begged Brian, and everyone did. I'm not some savant, but we all begged for them to get the young kids involved more in the game. Keegan Johnson had a really nice run leading to Iowa's touchdown, and everyone's like, wow, where has he been? Yeah, where has he been? It was nice to see him start to do that when they're down 20. And it's the same 3 yards in a cloud of dust, and that works when you can run the ball, when you have an offensive line that can protect and push, and Iowa doesn't have that this year. And so they're not going to beat many more teams. I mean, you're not, without the luxury of, intercepting the ball 4 times or turning over Maryland 7 times or knocking out Penn State's starting quarterback. Taking a look at the numbers, boy, is it ugly. And I never want to see these numbers again. Iowa won the penalty battle 3-2, or they had 2-3, I guess you could say. But how about this? 24 rushes, Iowa at 0.8 yards a carry. Jeez. So, before I get to a bigger look, just a reminder to subscribe up at the top there at Twitter at IA Sports Review and Facebook Iowa Sports Review. Usually the shows are much more chipper than this one, not following a disastrous loss, one of the biggest disasters of the Ferentz era, in my opinion, with the opportunity that you had coming in. I do a show. My name's Tom Clos. I do a show every Tuesday night, 8 Central, about the Hawks. There's still 4 weeks left in this now slog. It was a fun season. Now it's a slog. Adam Jacobi, my counterpart, I guess you could say, something like that, does a show every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Catch him on Wednesdays. He might show up here in a little bit. We'll see. I think he's fighting the Madison, Wisconsin traffic. I was lucky enough to elbow some people, and I think I left the game early enough. There was no traffic, actually. That's how bad it was. So big picture, let's see. Iowa's 6-2. Looking at Wisconsin's not going to lose again, I don't think. I can't sit here and say Iowa's going to beat Minnesota. I can't sit here and say they're going to go to Nebraska and win. I can't sit here and say they're going to beat any of these teams. Maybe Illinois, but Illinois, maybe not. I don't know. It's that bad. I mean, it's crisis time. And when you're talking about where this program's going, because we're stuck with the Ferentzes forever, it's very bleak, in my opinion, right now, as of this second. Now, maybe that being said, the offensive line is young, all that stuff. But the problem is, this is the same. I saw this game 4 years ago in Madison, the Josh Jackson game. It was after the Ohio State win. Josh Jackson had 2 touchdowns, I think, on his own, 6 sixes. And I think Iowa might have been up 10 or 14 in that game. and I think they had like negative 27 yards, something like that. I mean, it was the same offensive effort. This was a little better, I think. And 4 years later, they're still running the same offense. They're still doing nothing. I mean, they got better because you had Nate Stanley and Noah Fant and all them became seniors and, upperclassmen, and a bunch of them in the NFL now. But 4 years later, I'm watching the same game. And in the meantime, I walk out of Camp Randall, flip on Michigan State. Michigan State ran out Mark D'Antonio, basically their Kirk Ferentz, who won a lot more than Ferentz. Anyways, won multiple Big Ten championships, got to a playoff, beat Ferentz in a Big Ten title game. Cratered. I went through a couple years, especially last year, Iowa beat them 49-0. I mean, that was a bad team. And Mel Tucker has them now undefeated, 8-0, and probably one game from going to the playoff right now. And it looks different than D'Antonio, but they're back. I mean, he got them back. It can happen quickly if you know what you're doing. And I just look at Iowa, and Michigan State's been down and up, down, and way up again. And Iowa's just the same. I mean, you can say this about a lot of schools, that they've kind of gone down and come back up. But I like comparing to Michigan State because I think Iowa can compete. It's not fair to compare Iowa with, Texas is back now, when you're getting 5-star kids. But it's very maddening and disheartening and just crushing as a fan when I'm sitting here thinking, am I going to be here 4 years from now watching the same thing? Do they ever get sick of this? Do they ever get sick of 20 yards of offense, of no passing game? I can't blame, you can only blame the kids so much. I mean, you only can, because I don't think this coaching staff is putting this offense in the best position to win. I think it's just a complete malpractice. I don't know what they did during the bye. They did nothing. It was an embarrassing performance by Brian Ferentz, the entire offensive staff. They did not have them ready. They looked lost immediately. You got people dropping punts. You got people dropping handoffs at the goal line. And when Iowa starts making the mental mistakes, they can never play offense, but when they start making the mental mistakes, they're losing that game, they're done. I mean, that's the one thing they can always count on. And once they start losing that, they're done. And Wisconsin, I will say this, there was a moment in the third, Wisconsin let them back in the game. Iowa actually had a chance. Iowa, and there was still no imagination. That led to Iowa's down 20-7 driving, and that was the back-to-back fullback dives. It's hilarious. I mean, Kirk has done a lot of good for the school, but the Brian thing is really, in my opinion, back-to-back Greg Davis and Brian Ferentz, that's rough. I mean, that's rough. And again, it is all about the money, but nothing's going to change. I mean, nothing's going to change. He's in his 22nd year, unless it would take like a shocking. It would take Kirk retiring, first of all, for them to ever rid themselves of Brian. And I don't know if that's a thing. I think he might just be the coach in waiting. I don't know. Nobody quite knows. But again, I think we're just stuck with them until further notice. And that's the problem with nepotism. You're stuck in it for good or for better or for worse. And this is much worse. I mean, they can do so much better. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's a good point. By Ray in the chat. Son-in-law is a recruiting coordinator. Friend is a quarterback. Yeah. And so it's systemic. And and look, when they're winning, it's great. But the problem is, it's not even that, okay, we're not going to bowl games. We're not, that's a complete joke, that bar. And like the 7, they win 7 and 8 games a year. Who cares? You mean nothing. 8 wins, 8 and 4. You're playing Illinois and Minnesota every year. That's a quarter of your wins. It should be. but it's the same thing. It's just the same thing. I saw this team 4 years ago, and it looked different this year because they started so hot, and the defense was playing out of their mind. And Phil Parker deserves credit for that. But at some point the offense has to do something. I mean, there has to be one game where they really turn it on and win a game, and it's not going to happen. So any Iowa fan that's still holding out hope that they could still win the West, like they only have two, please. I'm not going to. I mean, who wants to go? I'm going to go if they go. But do I really need to waste another weekend in Indianapolis and a lot of money for them to just get trounced by some team? Like that's a complete joke. Anyone who comes out of this division, I thought Iowa was above it, but they're just one and the same with this West. And actually, Wisconsin looks pretty stingy now. Exactly. Yeah. That is exactly what happened. I drove 5 hours from Des Moines, and I left. I think I beat you. I left with. They were doing the dumb jump around, and then I was like, I'm going to throw up. I'm either going to throw up or leave, so I left. So 15 minutes, I beat you by 3, but earliest I've ever left a game. And I've been to some bad ones. There's been some really bad ones, but that was the earliest, and drove 5 hours for this. I'm so happy. It was such a well worth, just great. All the money and the time, whatever. I guess that's what you get. But again, had I wasn't here 4 years ago, it's the same trip, and that's what's most disappointing. It's the lack of evolution. And college football is one of those sports where everyone does something different, and there's always a new scheme, and you have to keep up, and it's evolve or die. And I remember a time when Iowa would struggle so much with mobile quarterbacks. They couldn't defend an RPO. And you know what? Phil figured it out. He's been evolving. That's how they've been so good. They're so well coached defensively. He's got the secondary going, and they can defend mobile quarterbacks now. They can defend pro-style court. They can do it. You evolve or die. Offensively, they haven't evolved since Kirk took over. I mean, it's the same, and it doesn't work anymore. And we all know this, but it's like they can't even run the ball. It doesn't, you know what? Their offense doesn't win championships when it's working. That's how bad it is. When it's not working, it is absolutely useless. Just useless. I was hoping, I must say, I was hoping Adam would be here because I knew if it was me alone, I was going to just go on a rant. But please add some comments in the chat. Anything you want to say. I'm sure there's a lot on your mind after 27-7, which it felt like it was about 57-7, honestly. 27-7, Iowa loses at Wisconsin. And the season is falling apart at the seams. If it hasn't already, it's unraveling. And it's really not. I don't think it's going to get much better. I want to think that this team and this program can kind of rest on their laurels, and you beat Minnesota. Thank you, David. You beat Minnesota and Illinois. Those are those games like, oh yeah, Minnesota, Illinois at home. Well, they're at home. They should win. I don't think that about anything now. I mean, they've looked so bad the last 2 weeks. These last 4 are all an adventure. And so it's funny because 2.5 weeks ago, I'm sitting here going, they should be 12-0. I expect them to be 12-0 and playing for a spot in the playoff. Now I'm thinking they might be 6-6 come December. Which is, it's hilarious. It wouldn't be so funny if it wasn't so sad. It's tragic. But and this was one of those games. This goes back to my first point about no surprise and how the Lions don't surprise you and Iowa didn't surprise me. I had no faith in this game. I felt terrible about it for 2 weeks. I felt terrible about it the second the Purdue game ended. Because that Purdue game, they looked so bad and were beaten so soundly that it was almost like they were a con artist and the jig was up. And like, oh no, does everyone know, our secret identity now? And I was one of them. I was defending this program. You had ESPN, national media. How long can they keep this up? They can't keep this up. This defense is playing well, but they can't keep it up. At some point, the offense, I was like, it's just working. Iowa makes it work. This is what they do. Completely off. I apologize to any of the pessimists, any of the Iowa haters. Hate away. I mean, they were completely right. And Purdue exposed it, and it's just now it's all out in the open. I mean, everyone knows that this team cannot move the ball at all. And so it feels it feels like I've been duped. It feels like we've all been duped. And this is just how I feel. I'm not blaming the team for winning. I'm glad they won those games, but it's coming into this game, I just had no faith. And then, you get in your seat and kickoff happens and you're like, you talk yourself into it, maybe got a couple of drinks in me. Okay, maybe. And then, they were done immediately. That's a great point. I don't know. I don't know. What would it take? Not going to games? I don't think that matters. And, I always also I will say Iowa is 6 and I am the biggest. I hate this. I hate that I have to say this, but Iowa's 6-2 and number 9 in the nation. Oh, okay. But they're 6-2. So it's not like they're, Kansas, but really if you're not challenging for Big Ten titles, and I don't mean getting to Indianapolis. I mean, like, if you're not like this year, we're going to win the West and like, we'll have a shot to win this. What are you doing? Then you might as well go 4-8 and just get the right people in there. Like, what good is the Foster Farms Bowl or the Pinstripe Bowl was great with the frozen field. So I don't know. Well, there's some ideas here. That's sort of my thought too. I don't think it's Petrus's fault entirely. I think it's this offensive line is just really bad, and Petrus has not been very good. I mean, it's not his fault entirely, but some of it lies with him. I wouldn't mind it, or maybe bring in Padilla for a couple play, anything. Even if you bring in Padilla to just run the ball around the edge, something. I mean, can you imagine like they came out today in that first series, they run Petrus throws it to Padilla, who then throws it downfield, and they run a sweep, and Padilla's there, and he throws it like a halfback pass, but it's Padilla on a sweep. Like, something. I mean, show some creativity, anything. And they did nothing. So, I'm all for it. Change anything, except Tyler Goodson. Keep him in. Change the receivers. Receivers are doing nothing. Can we bring in Spencer Rattler next year? I guess, but what quarterback with any talent would come to this? I mean, I'm going to hand it off 45 times on the sweep when it's not working. I'm going to hand it off to a fullback. I'm going to hand it off to a fullback in 2021. Let me ask you this. How many players that are, high school quarterback, everyone's playing Madden, everyone loves, NCAA football, video games. How many times do you think they run a fullback dive in that game? Never. Unless you're playing with Iowa, but who the hell would play with Iowa in that game unless you're sick nut like me? But nobody, like I'm sure there's kids in high school that don't even know the fullback is a position. I mean, that's how antiquated it is. And Iowa's still out there running it, and Wisconsin's running it. God, I'm sorry. And it's stats like that. What is this program? And I brought this up on Thursday. What is the identity of this program? No outright title since 85, co-champs in 02. Actually, their last co-champ was 04. It was they won it in 02 and in 04. They shared it with Michigan, their last championship. That's another story. But you haven't won a Big Ten title. It'll be 20 or over 20 years. Oh no, 18 years right now. And what is the identity of this program? Is it just we're gonna do the Iowa thing forever? And hey, hopefully, like I love this. Like when people scout Iowa and they say it like it's a good thing. I hear this nationally all the time. It's like, you know what Iowa is? They're always like they're gonna win 8 games and then the rest will be coin flips. And sometimes they'll come up heads and sometimes they'll come up tails. And They might win 10. They might win 7. Why? Why is that what this is? I get the talent. I get all that. We can't recruit like Ohio State, but why do we? That has a lot to do with the style of play. I mean, hell, I'd rather overhaul this and lose 5 games a year and then win 11 in a year and then go back to, then just winning 8 every year. Like, and Iowa has been the king of these like fake 9-win seasons. Iowa won 10 2 years ago. They won 10-3. They won the Holiday Bowl, yet they won nothing. I mean, they didn't win the wet. They didn't win anything. But it was like, can I be upset because it's Iowa and it's 10 wins? I mean, they won nothing. It was a fake 10-win season. I'm on a roll now. Most winnable game left on the schedule. It has to be Illinois at home, although Illinois won at Penn State, but it has to be Illinois at home. I mean, in all honesty, that was a disgusting display by Penn State. You can't lose that game. And no, it's Illinois at home. I can't put it past them, but next week against Northwestern, that is a bad team. I mean, Northwestern is not a good team this year. You have to go beat them. Those two, I don't feel good about Nebraska. I mean, Nebraska, forget it on the road. The good news is Nebraska can't find a way to win a game, but I had no confidence there. And then Minnesota is at home, but who knows? That'll be a toss-up probably. And you're hoping for a couple of turnovers. 28 sacks in 8 games. Yeah, horrible. I mean, those numbers are, it's terrible. The offensive line, I said this on Thursday, the offensive line is young deal. That gets exhausting when you're 8 games into a season. And it's you're out of excuses. And that's the other thing too. And that's another thing that's really crushing about this. You are what you are at this point. Like you are when you're 6-2 and you have 4 games left in the season. This is it. This is what we're going to see through whenever their bowl game is. I mean, there's no improvement. If you're not getting better in the bye week, 7 weeks in, you're not getting better week to week now. This is just stay healthy and I don't know, pray the defense starts forcing 4+ turnovers a game. I mean, that's it. This is their identity. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, Jeff Brom used 3 quarterbacks. Yeah, Michigan has used 2 quarterbacks all year and just lost today, but 7-1, they look pretty good. I mean, it works. That's another thing. That's another way. Jeff Brom, his game plan changed week to week. Yeah, it's Iowa. We're going to use 3 quarterbacks. See that, and that's a week to week thing too. Like you adjust your opponents. Iowa runs the same thing no matter who they're playing. They could be playing anyone. They're going to run the same game plan against Alabama and the same game plan against Illinois. They're not evolving. And 8-4 theater is tiring. It's because these seasons add up to nothing. It's not 8-4, 9-3, 11-1, and you won the Big Ten. Oh my God. Then you can go, wow, the last 3 years paid off. No, they're going 8-4, 9-3, 8-4, 10-3, kind of 8-4, and they've won nothing. And they 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 6 straight years, they're not going to win anything of note. Oh, hey, wait, traveling trophies. I forgot. That's the point of this program is to, retain the Heroes Trophy from Nebraska. Yeah, we can always go and wait, I don't even think the fans are allowed in the Hanson Athletic Center, are they? I can't even go see the damn trophies. They're behind they're in the facility. Be surprised a good running back. I can't believe Tyler Goodson came to this. I was looking at his offer sheet not too long ago. He had some pretty good offers. I think Michigan State was his best offer next to Iowa. Why isn't he there? I was looking at Michigan State. My God, Kenneth Walker is going to be a finalist for the Heisman. Tyler Goodson might win it if he was there. I mean, it's a miracle. I think his performance this year has been very underrated. And because he hasn't had the breakout, but he is doing a lot with absolutely nothing. And so I don't know why a talented running back would come here. I don't know why a talented quarterback would come here. Iowa doesn't produce NFL quarterbacks. I don't know. 18 yards at halftime. Yeah. There was a stat. I made a note of it from. I lost it. Anyways, it was just. It was something to the extent of, I think at one point Iowa had minus 13 yards, and it was the end of the first, or it was midway through the second quarter, and it's like it set it up on the scoreboard, and it's like, what I that's what I said to myself. What am I doing here? Like what? Why am I here? Like what is this? It's nonsense. Like, what am I watching? It's drivel. Yeah, he wasn't good. Petrus was not good today. Missed slants. He missed who was it? Reganey. I don't know, some short receiver. Reganey, they're all short. On a long pass, had him wide open. Wasn't good at all. And that's, and that is a Kirk Ferentz trademark, though. The quarterbacks regress under Kirk. I mean, they get worse. And you've seen, you can go all down the line from Nate Stanley was better his sophomore year than his senior season. And if this is Petrus's best, this is when they're supposed to be their best. I can't imagine what he's going to look like next year. But I don't know. I'm emotionally drained. Thought crept in my head. Linderbaum. Yeah, that's a great point. I didn't even think of that. And yeah, this is the offensive line with the best center in the nation. The best center in the nation. And they still can't run the ball. I mean, they're getting stuffed. That's 2 straight games now. They got stuffed on a 4th down on a quarterback sneak, and a 4th down on a 3rd and a 4th down on a fullback dive. In Iowa's defense today, the entire planet knew what they were going to do on that 4th down. So yeah, that's a great point. Very young offensive line with the best center in the country, and wasted. Can't push the pile, can't move anyone. There were no hole there. I mean, it is shocking at times. Like, you just still with Iowa, I'm still duped into that. Like, we're going to run the ball. And it's amazing how there's never a hole. I mean, Tyler Goodson's had about 5 holes he can hit this entire season. And I love the other thing too is, Goodson, the first game against Indiana, he had that 75-yard run like 2 plays into the season. He ran around the edge, and I don't think they run around the edge anymore. It's all stretch runs to the, and it takes them an hour to develop, and it's the same stuff. I'm gonna be doing the show next year and saying the same stuff after they blow a game at Minnesota or something. It's just over and over and over. Oh yeah, that's right. I actually saw the trophies at the State Fair this year. That was cool. That was worth. I thought to myself, it's funny. I thought, man, it would be so cool for them to win a Big Ten title, once since George W. Bush was in office. But nah, it's all about seeing, that the Floyd of Rosedale at the State Fair for 5 seconds. It's all about the Cy-Hawk Trophy. I don't even know what it is. What is the Cy-Hawk Trophy? It's a podium or something. Like, that's what this program's about. It's about the stupid trophies. And I got news for you. They're not winning them all this. Oh, they didn't. They just gave up the bowl. That's right. So I guess it's not that they threw away any playoff hopes or a Big Ten title. It's we didn't win the bowl, because that's what it's all about at Iowa. Because hashtag Iowa 8-4. Yeah. And yeah. So just a reminder, I'll just do a quick reset here. I'll be on Tuesdays, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern. We'll talk more about this game, I guess, and then look forward to they're at Northwestern, which I will not be attending. I was at the Hawkeye Huddle last night here in Madison. Good turnout, I will say, for Iowa fans, because I guess they were 6-1 and top 10, which is hilarious. But to think they were a top 10 team coming into this shows what a disaster the polls are. But the Hawkeye Huddle, whoever the guy on the mics going, raise your hand if you'll be at Northwestern next week, at the Hawkeye Huddle on the golf course. And I was thinking, if this team loses, you're not a chance in hell. And if they win like 6-3, am I really going to travel to watch this again? Like I had this trip was kind of set a while ago when Iowa was winning games and you had hope. And so I kind of was locked into coming, and I was like, well, 6-1. I mean, who would go? Who would go to that? I get there's a lot of alums in the area, and if you can get out there, I guess. And Ryan Field's a crummy stadium. It's a great place to see a game because it'll be all Iowa fans in that pseudo high school stadium. But I you couldn't pay me to go to that game. I mean, make that trip. I just drove 5 hours to this. It's another, what, it would be 5 or 6 Des Moines to Chicago. That'd be insane. So I won't be there. But if you're going, kudos to you. Enjoy it. It's supposed to be fun, right? So much fun. This is so much fun. I love this team. It's great. And yeah, so you want to looking at the Big Ten. Let's see. They were number 2 in the country 3 weeks ago, entering the Purdue game, and probably the second best team in the Big Ten to Ohio State. I was thinking at the time, to now, let's see. I'm going to say Ohio State, Michigan State, Wisconsin. I'll put Minnesota's better than them right there, right now. Okay. So now you're at least the 6th best team in the conference. If we're being generous, if we really want to get into it, maybe you're the 7th. So now you're bottom 17. I'm just talking in terms of like who would beat who right now. I mean, they're not beating any of those teams today. How quickly it all fell apart. How quickly it's just devolved into a mess, into a disaster. And yeah, so that's all I got. I could sit here and scream for hours, but I'm all yelled out. It's been just very, very quite depressing to be honest. Like, Iowa plays these games. I don't know about anyone else, but they play these games, and if they had come here and lost, like say they played well, and Wisconsin has their legs under them, they're at home. Wisconsin's a good program, so Wisconsin just beat them like at their own game or something. Like a 21-17. Kind of like the game 2 years ago. Nate Stanley gets stuffed on a 2-point conversion. Iowa hung in there the whole game. Probably should have tied, needed an inch. I'd come out of here disappointed, crushed. But you could, on the drive back tomorrow, I could be like, you know what? Damn, they had a shot. But okay, they're gonna beat Minnesota. They'll beat these teams, and okay, 10-2, whatever. I mean, this is so demoralizing. Like, I don't want to watch college football. I am, because I'm a sucker for it, but like, I don't want to watch other teams. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to watch Iowa. It's just so disgusting. And I'm just so disgusted with it all. And the entire game, think of this. It can be broken down to this. 9 first downs. They had their first down was, what was it? It was late in the first half. And then, the second half, Wisconsin just kind of went in a shell, it looked like, and Iowa still couldn't take advantage. But they didn't have a first down for the first, 22 minutes of the game. Wait, go home. What are you doing? Go home. Yeah, that's a fantastic point. And you think about, go back to last year. I get it. COVID year, crazy year. You didn't play, the best team you played was, I guess it was Northwestern, but you beat Michigan State, Penn State, and Wisconsin all in one season, and you won nothing. You didn't even get to Indianapolis because you blew a 20-point lead to Northwestern. This year, you have the soft schedule again. Okay, Penn State it looked tough, but all right, you had them at home. That was the game. Yeah, you got to go to Wisconsin, but they're in your division. Even if, hell, you could lose this, you could have lost this game. If they beat Purdue, they come here, they lose. You could still get to Indy, still even get to the playoff, and they've completely, the last 2 weeks, thrown out the window. That being said, we were fooled. We were fooled because it's Iowa, and we love Iowa, and we want them to win. We bought into, the defense being so great, and the offense can do just enough. No, the offense can't do anything. The offense needed their handheld those first 6 weeks, and the defense was doing it. But when the defense needed a breather, and it was like, offense, we need you to pick us up, it won't happen. So I'm sure one of these games, next week and against Illinois, they'll force 3-4 turnovers and scrape across 21 points, win 21-7. There'll be those games because the defense is good enough to do that to bad teams. But when you play teams of any quality or Purdue, who gives them matchup nightmares and stuff, and it calls on your offense to do something, you're not gonna be able to do it. So yeah, wasted opportunity for sure. But I think we were duped a little bit. I do. We drank the Kool-Aid a little. I thought, look, I was on the field at Kinnick after they beat Penn State, which seems like it was almost like I don't know. Like I was lost in Vegas for a weekend and stuff happened and I don't know how it happened. That's what that was like. I rushed the field after they beat Penn State. I was going to finish the season 7-5. Like it's blowing my mind. But so yeah, wasted year. Did they ever have all the talent though? Obviously no. I mean, because this offensive line is not winning anything. I mean, it's not winning you a Big Ten title. Certainly not getting you to sniff the playoff. Yeah. So I mean, think of that. The college football rankings come out this week, and Iowa's already gone from 2 to they should be unranked and shouldn't be even close to it. And we've almost had like the full spectrum of the season, and there's still 4 weeks to go. They've already cratered. Knowing Iowa though now, and this will be, you talk about never surprising you. Actually, what would be surprising is if they cratered. Now Iowa will beat Northwestern, beat Minnesota, beat Illinois. They'll win out, get to Nebraska, and it's almost like today's fake comeback when they cut it to 20-7 and got to stop. And I'm sitting there going, this is a classic fake comeback. And then they get stuffed on fullback dives. Because a trademark of Kirk is when it's at its worst, Penn State 2017 getting blown out 41-14. I was there. That was the worst game I've ever been to. This might have topped it. I'm not sure. The next week, with the world crashing down on them, they beat Michigan, who's number 2 at home on the Keith Duncan kick. So this is classic Ferentz. That whole, it looks like I'm in over my head and the game's passed me by. Now I'm going to go upset number 2 Ohio State so and then the fans will love that. And look, we all love that. I'm not guilty of this too. But then, we can talk about the Ohio State win that led to nothing for the next 5 years. And we could talk about them beating Michigan for nothing, knocking Michigan out when they're number 2, when Iowa was unranked and 6-5. Iowa's the king of the biggest wins in school history all mean nothing for the most part, except for 85 and 04 when they beat Wisconsin for the Big Ten title. But, Iowa, they put together, I love like the Daniel Murray game in 08, which is great moment. Meant nothing. You beat Penn State, who was number 3. It meant everything to Penn State. Didn't really mean much to Iowa. They went on to win the Outback Bowl. The Michigan Keith Duncan game. It was great. I grew up a Michigan fan. I have Michigan fan friends. I love throwing in their face. I don't like Michigan anymore. I love it. I love that game. Meant nothing. Didn't put Iowa in the playoff. It didn't win the West. It didn't win anything. It saved them from going 6-6. So expect that. Expect them. 2 years ago, the fake 10-win season. They come here, lose on the Stanley play, out of the race. Now they have nothing to play for. Minnesota rolls in undefeated in number 6, and Iowa beats them. And then we storm the field. But it didn't mean anything. What did it mean? We ruined Minnesota's great. That's what I want to do. I want to ruin Minnesota. I don't want to win. I just want to ruin other people's years because we've done so much winning that I'm like an Alabama fan. I'm sick of winning. Anyways. That's my piece. I've gone almost an hour, 55 minutes. I was hoping Adam would show up, but I don't think he's going to make it. Look for me Tuesday. I'll be right here. Facebook, Iowa Sports Review. Twitter, IA Sports Review. Hit subscribe on our YouTube page. Catch me on Tuesdays, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern. we'll get a little bit more of the Wisconsin thoughts out of my system, and then look ahead to Northwestern or not. Maybe we'll talk about basketball, a little bit of basketball, the Brian Ferentz stuff, Kirk Ferentz stuff, whatever. I need to take some time to chew on it all. And look for Adam Jacobi's on Wednesdays at 8 Central, 9 Eastern. And I'll see you then. This is Tom Clos signing off. 27-7, Iowa loses in Madison. And it's going to be a long winter, it looks like. I'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.